Well, hello there, and welcome back once again to another edition of Johnny Davis Alive. We're here on this June the 12th, 2020. We're kicking off our Father's Day series here today. We're going to do a couple of shows here today talking about fathers. We're planning on doing a show or two next week talking about fathers as we lead on up to those Father's Days. We need to talk to these men, try to find out what's in the heads of these guys and how we think about children, marriage, kids, maybe even child support. I know Fernando's laughing at that. You know, all of those things. We're going to get into it here a little bit today. First of all, I want to thank our sponsors of Blackout Fights at blackoutfights.com, Eastern Offset Printing out of Atlantic Beach, North Carolina, for all they do for us. Our first guest is going to be none other than Mr. Chris Clauder. He's out of Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Then after that, we will bring up Mr. Kelvin Bass out of Durham, North Carolina. And then picking off in the end will be full-time world champion, Mr. Fernando Caleros, guys. So we're looking forward to chatting with these men here today about all the good things that are going on in their lives. And I'm sure it's all going to be good, right? I mean, because that's just the way life is, right? It's all beautiful. Let me see, can I catch up with Mr. Chris Clodfelter there? Mr. Chris Clodfelter, again, he's the crew. Chris, he's out of Winston-Salem, North Carolina. He has 8-point Muay Thai gym over there in Winston-Salem, guys. We've had him on many times. Right now, he's riding in his Mercedes. He's riding in his limousine. Right?
Oh, exactly. I'm riding my limousine right now. They're feeding me grapes. So I'm just a celebrity like that.
Right. So, he's a celebrity. He's been, chauffeured, from one point to the next in his limousine and everything.
It's a tough life. It's a tough life.
Thank you so much, sir, for giving us a moment of your precious time.
I'll be sending you the bill, Johnny. Sending you the bill.
I know. Chris, how you doing, man?
I'm good, man. I'm real good. I always love coming on chatting with you. And, it feels like I hadn't seen you in forever with all these fights being shut down for a while. But, it's just good to catch up with you and kind of hang out for a little bit.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Chris is always, I think everybody I have on the show today, they're very opinionated. So we're going to have a fun conversation with all of these great opinions about, fatherhood and all of those other great things. One of the things I do know about Chris is that, he's really tight with his family. He has, do you have 4 kids, Chris?
I do.
Hold on. He paused for a minute. Oh, so this might be the story already. He really doesn't know how many.
No. Well, we'll just wait for right now. I'll make some announcements later.
Hold on. Am I getting an announcement? Is there an announcement?
I can't say anything. I can't say anything right now, John. I mean, my wife would shoot me, man.
I think you've already said it. Whoa! Hey, Helen, congratulations.
Oh, thank you, brother. But I have a 18-year-old and a 7-year-old and then a 4-year-old. And man, it is a full-time job. But I mean, they're my world, man. They're my world. They, my son Drake pretty much grew up around the fight industry. He was at his first fight when he was 2 weeks old. I was fighting in Birmingham, Alabama, at the 5 Points Music Hall, just this hole in the wall place in Birmingham, Alabama. And my corner was like watching him backstage, and I mean, it was just crazy, man. It was it was an interesting way for him to grow up. I mean, he got to be backstage for a lot of the fights, and it's the same thing with my little girls now. They're growing up around the fight industry. Now, me being a coach, not a fighter anymore, they get to, travel to some fights and kind of hang out and see some stuff. They're down in your shows, swimming in the pool while I'm working. So, I mean, it's a fun life bringing them up around this and, bringing them around, the fighting industry and the fight world. I just think it's a very tight-knit community. So it's a fun way to grow up.
I got a question for you, Chris.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any animosity towards your wife because the mom seemed to get all the credit for loving them a little bit more?
No. I have an amazing wife, man. She definitely deserves all the credit there. She is just watches, if I need to go out of town for fights or do whatever, she's just she's definitely my pillar. And
okay.
So
hold on, Chris. I want to break that down for a minute, right? I want to dive in just a little bit. Of course, we respect our wives and our women. Take care of our kids. But you said out of your own mouth just now that she deserves all of the credit. So hold on. So Hold on, let
Well,
me go in a little bit. Here I go, Chris. Here I go. Get
hey, that's
ready.
good.
Right.
That's good.
So one of the problems that men don't really get enough credit for loving their kids and maybe the way they should.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you think your role is somehow diminished to the point where you don't feel that you are contributing to these kids?
No, 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 no. I don't mean it like that. I just like my wife. God's blessed our family. The gym takes care of all of our bills. Our fighting career, takes care of all the bills. So she doesn't have to work. She just is pretty much a stay-at-home mom. Just takes
Right.
care of the family. And I am pretty much a stay-at-home dad. I teach classes and go to the fights, but I'm
Right.
like Mr. Mom. My kids are always with me. They're always like I'm the fun dad. So she has to be the disciplinary sometimes because I'm just like, well, hey, we can have 3 ice cream cones. I'm. It's almost funny. It's almost the roles are reversed a little bit in our relationship with some things because you know, I'm the one that loves the Disney World. You know, when we go to the IKF Worlds, I try to work it around my Disney trip. So
Yeah.
it's just fun to mix work with those things. But meaning deserves all the credit. She really, I just think that sometimes stay-at-home moms might not, that people
Right.
might think it's on easy street, but I mean,
Right.
she's working full time. She grows. We grow a lot of our food. We do the whole, farming thing and all that kind of stuff. So she does all that, not me.
Right.
But she definitely takes care of our family, provides a lot of
Well,
good stuff for it.
I,
So
I want to ask. I'm going to go back for a moment here. I want to
sure,
ask you a little bit about your perception, your concept about being a father. I want to ask
sure,
you a little bit about your dad, right?
sure, yeah, yeah.
What kind of dad was he, and how did that help you to develop into the kind of dad that you are today? Did that have any role in that?
It does actually. Growing up, I had the probably one of the best examples with just that old school, hardworking work ethic. My father worked 2 jobs as long as I can remember. He always provided for us. He let us know that providing for your family was one of the greatest things that you could do as a father, no matter what that was, fighting or whatever.
Hmm.
But he was a real traditional in his earlier, in my earlier childhood. He was just really worked hard through the week, but he always got time off on the weekends. I think he was always off every Friday and Saturday, and so we would always do like family fun day. He would
Hmm.
take us to the zoo, take us to wherever. So he definitely was a ridiculously hard worker, but he set aside that time each week for us to do those special family things with just me and my brother. That guy time that a lot of people don't have,
Right.
and that just meant a lot to me and really forged who I am as a person today to have that guy time with my dad. But my mom was really involved too. They really just did an amazing job, as co-parents. And my mom was, the kind of the fun, you know, let's go to Walmart at 2 in the morning type
Right.
mom. I mean, she was. They really both, molded the type of father I am.
Right.
And she was very much a tiger mom, like that kind of stuff. But
Right. Right.
my mom and dad, I really it was a very great fit because my dad was a quieter guy. Like if you meet my dad, he's not me. He's not my personality. I'm my mom's personality.
So
But
your
but
mom,
work,
so your mom was kind of really in charge, if you
yeah,
will.
well, yeah, pretty much. I mean, yeah, yeah, yeah. But my dad was that loving, strong. He taught me what it was about to be a man. Like a strong, person that takes care of the family. And my mom was teaching me the softer side and like saying, hey, men don't have to be what you necessarily see on TV. It's the man's role to take care of the kids too. It's not just the woman's role. She was very big into that way in my life. So I honestly got the best of both worlds, learning
Yeah.
that hey, it's okay to be that dad that is in the floor playing with the kids 24/7, making
Right.
the meals, doing the laundry. There's not a lot of such thing as
Right.
like a woman's role or a man's role. You're
Right.
you're co-parents. You're doing this together. And
That's
for
right.
instance, my wife. This is a funny story. When something breaks at the house, I don't fix it. my
Oh,
wife
really?
fixes it, and that's a traditional man role. But I'm just not good at that traditional man role. I'm
Wow,
just
that's
going to be honest.
interesting.
My wife loves that. My wife is very good at that. She's very mechanically minded. So my wife takes on that role, and I'm a big, huge kid at heart. So I love the playing role, and there's just a lot of there's just a lot of co-parenting with that. And I think too many people fall into, hey, this is a woman's job or this is a man's job,
Right.
when you guys are partners together. And so, I think that's the biggest thing when you're
100,
in a marriage.
100%. Well, how did your dad treat her though? I mean, let's go down a little bit. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
she's doing this. What did he always, I mean, when it comes to respect and all those other things, how did he treat her?
He honestly treated her like he never, when they were together, he always drove. That was one of the biggest things I could remember. He always drove and took care of her, and then made sure that she was the one that was, getting taken care of. Not so much, not so much like he just wanted to make sure. Hold on one second. Sorry about that. I'm walking into the
Yeah,
place.
you're
So
good.
let me get out of this background noise.
I can't hear it. Go ahead.
All right, I had to get out of that background noise, man.
That's fine. I can't hear it.
Be in 2 seconds. Sorry for interrupting your show, Johnny, but that's what you do for the celebrity.
Well, we deal with these celebrities and everything.
That's what it is.
Somebody's running up for an autograph right now. Hey, while we get to the
Get
location,
away,
thanks so
get
much
away.
for watching
I'll
Johnny
kiss that
Davis
baby
Live.
later.
Guys, you have thanks to our sponsors of Blackout Fights at blackoutfights.com and Eastern Offset Printing. Again, we have a show coming up after this show. Coming up next is going to be Mr. Kelvin Bass. He's out of Durham, North Carolina, and then Mr. Fernando Caleros. And then we have another show starting at 2:30 where we're going to be talking to my kids so they can beat me up a little bit. Are you back there, Chris?
Man, I'm ready. I've kissed the babies. I've
what a dad! What a dad you are, man! You're
what a
absolutely
dad.
just awesome. So when you think about your dad and the kind of things he did, you told me about the way he treated the mom. How does that act in you treating your wife today?
Well, a lot of people can't say this, and it's not. I'm not saying my childhood was better than anybody else's, but I really truly had an amazing childhood, and I never worried. Like my parents, don't get me wrong, they weren't saints, and they 100%, would sometimes get in knockdown, drag out fights.
Okay, good,
For
good, yeah, good. Hey, Chris, stop right there. Thank you for saying that because right now you were painting the picture like, woo,
Oh
everything
no
is
no no
just
no 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 no
heavenly,
no
right? Let's
no!
talk
I don't want to.
real talk.
Hey, my family's Italian. I mean, come on.
Well, there you go,
I
right?
mean, my mom's relatives are from Sicily, and so my mom's got my mouth. So believe me, it was her and dad. They would get at it sometimes, but I never once worried about my parents divorcing. I never once worried about my parents, like my dad, saying I'm out of here. It wasn't none of that kind of stuff. They fought, they had arguments, and that's how they worked things out. Our family is a very big Italian family, so we have cousins, we have a lot of stuff, and we talk. I mean, sometimes we yell our point through, if you can make it, if you can say that. But it was always done in love, and so people get this wrong idea that a marriage is supposed to be like the movies and everything's happy go lucky. And it's not like that. It's just not that's just not reality. But you also don't have to be on the other spectrum where, hey, I don't like this. I'm going to go ahead and check out. I mean, there was never a time that I never worried about my dad checking out and going somewhere else or anything, that kind of stuff. It was just that commitment. The commitment gets you through when the feelings of love go away. But I
Right.
mean, that doesn't mean that you're not going to have fights and you're not going to say, "Hey, we're gonna not talk for a couple days while we're hashing this out," and kind of go from there.
Okay, so you did. What was the biggest thing that you learned from your dad through his actions only?
Through his actions only, would 100% be him, like clockwork, getting up every morning at 4 a.m. to head to work and come home at 7 p.m. And then another of his actions is he would never let my mom. He would never let my mom um, drive, and he would always, before her work week, he would always
Wow.
fill her car up with gas on Sundays, no matter how mad they were with each other, and he still does that to this day. Just little things that he didn't. My dad is very quiet. He's so much more humble than me too. I didn't I might not have learned. I might have needed to learn more humility from him. But
Right, yeah.
he was just such a strong, silent type that he just did those little things that I don't even think he was realizing he was doing, but that was just showing her that he loved her, and without saying it. Like, hey, I know we're fighting, or I know we're this, but I'm filling your car up with gas, or hey, I'm taking care
Wow.
of you. And he would pick her up from work if it was snowing and she didn't feel like driving, he would always pick her up from work. So I mean, just little things like that that you see as a kid that you don't realize how much of an impact it has on you
Right.
until you grow up and you have a family of your own.
Are you everything you want to be as a father today?
I don't think any dad is. There's always like I have an 18-year-old son. So him being 18, looking back on my life, I'm like, man, I wish I would have done this, wish I would have done that. But I'll tell you one thing I'll never regret with any of my kids, including Drake, is I never look back and say I wish I would have spent more time with them or done that, because I've always put them first when it comes to that. Now I
Right.
do look back and say, hey, should I have been more of a disciplinarian, or should I have not said no
Why,
to
why,
that?
why, why do you, what, give me a scenario of where you think you might have fallen a little short, maybe being more of a disciplinarian, using your word.
Well, I mean, just like, I mean, I can't really, I don't really know. Like, maybe just, uh,
Come on,
you
Chris.
know,
There's something there,
well,
Chris.
that
There's
what
something.
I'm really trying to say. I'm really trying to think like maybe more, I don't know. I just wasn't big on like, I mean, I definitely was big on I wanted him to listen and that, but I mean, I just, sometimes when he was like 4 or 5, I would be explaining to him why I want him to do something. And, you don't explain to a 4-year-old, but I mean, I would be like, hey, I want you to do this because you want to do that. But, I just think more, sometimes I could have been more like, hey, do this or do that. But at the end of the day, they don't remember that when they're older, man. They
Right,
remember that
right,
impact and they remember that time that we had together. So even, that's one of the reasons why even I always knew I wanted to own my own business. Even before I opened 8 Points, 10 years ago, I always worked in the fitness industry and
right,
teaching Muay Thai or doing whatever. And when I was fighting professional, I worked in gyms teaching Muay Thai or as a personal trainer so I could have a flexible schedule to be with my kids all the time.
right, right.
And, I think that's what they remember when it's all said and done and your kids are grown. Not saying, and you would know this, you might know this too, but like we both have teenage kids,
I
and so
do.
our kids now look back and they remember those times we just spent time with them when they were younger. And, they might not remember everything we bought for them or remember, all the times we said no or that kind of stuff. But I tell you, they remember that time we spent with them. And I
No
think
doubt.
that's the biggest thing as a dad that I always wanted them to say about me. I said, you know what, no matter what, my kids are going to come first, and I'm gonna they're gonna know that their dad, no matter what's going on in my life, if my kids said, hey, Dad, I 100% listened to them, gave them full attention, and let them know they were special. Because if the kids know that they are special and their dad treats them like that,
Mm.
I think they're gonna have a better upbringing. Because I'm not trying to shove faith down anybody's throat or anything like that. But my view of being a dad and parent that my parents instilled in
Okay.
me comes from my faith and my parents' faith.
Yes.
And we believe that we are specially designed and created by God. And a child's first view of God is their dad. I don't care what they are, but their first view of God is they're going to equate how
You know
God.
the women are gonna change that at some point,
Well,
right?
you know what I mean, women
It's gonna
or
be the
whatever.
women. It's gonna be
I'm
my
just saying
mom.
in general. If they are, I'm not, whether if they're a single mom, it
Right.
would be the
Okay.
mom then. But it's just that parental figure. I'm
I
not
get it.
necessarily
I
saying
get it.
man
Right.
or woman, but it's that parental figure is their view of God. They're going to view God like that single mother or like that single father, because there's
Mm-hmm.
single fathers out there, or
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
like
They
that.
come back.
If they're married, they're going to be looking towards that father. And I think it's my job to let them know that they are fearfully and wonderfully made and they are special. And they weren't an accident. I wanted them. I prayed for them. And, I think when the kid has that, they go into life confident and everything they do, they're going to be good at. They're going to, have success in.
Right, right. Well, you kind of said it a little bit earlier, but we're winding down here. But what is the
I'll talk, Johnny. I'm sorry, buddy.
No, 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 no. We're good. We're good on time because we're going. We're going over for the show today, and I've already announced that. But what is one of the biggest fears that you have about your kids? In other words, when they kind of are out of your from under your umbrella, like your son right now, who's graduating, going to the world.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
What is the biggest fear about that?
Well, my biggest fear is that I I I want to instill into them the same faith that I have, which I feel like I've done. But I think that grounds you in a world that is full of turmoil and chaos, and getting worse by the day.
Mm.
I feel like, for instance, in a time that's really crazy like this, I'm very grounded because of my upbringing, and I feel very grounded no matter what's going on, whether it's a crazy pandemic or whatever. I really feel like that because of my upbringing, because of my faith in the Lord, I really feel like that grounds me and prepares me to look at life through a different lens. Because there are a lot of bad things in life, man. There are a lot of wickedness out there, a lot of
Mm.
evil. There's a lot of evil people, whether you're, I don't care who you are, good guys, bad guys, there's a lot in every profession.
Mm.
And I think that I'm allowed to look at it through a different lens and say, you know what, God has a purpose, God has a plan. I don't think God will forsake me because it says that in the Bible. And I just feel like I want to instill that into my kids so they're grounded and they have a good, solid grounding. That would be that would be the thing I
Right.
fear for the most, you know?
Well, I think that perspective is a good one as long as you have a good perspective on the God or the Bible or whatever you call.
Hey,
Right?
you
Some
totally
people
agree.
have you
Exactly.
have that religion
100%.
and they have that grounding, but it's kind of rooted in a lot of crazy stuff, you know?
I
Maybe not
totally agree.
respecting
It's
everybody. You understand? So I understand what you're
100%.
saying. Right.
Yeah,
That you're hoping
100%.
that that is not the case. Give me your final thoughts about how you feel about being a father when you look into your little girls' faces and you look into your son's eyes. What is the real feeling that they give you? Is it pride? What is it
I mean,
about being a
I,
father?
just the only word I can remotely even come close to it is unbelievable joy. Like
Right.
I wanted to be a father since I was probably 9 or 10 years old. I helped babysit my cousins. I just, to me, the greatest thing in the world was to be a parent, and I seen that through
Mm.
my parents. Like I had an amazing upbringing. I mean, for some of you guys that don't know, might not follow my Instagram. I'm a huge old school 80s toy collector. I collect all the
Yeah,
toys
yeah, you are.
all the toys that I collected from when I was a kid, and that comes from my good upbringing. I just had an amazing childhood, and I want to give that to my parents. But I always wanted to be a dad ever since I was a kid, and so being a dad is the one most amazing thing in the world. And when I look at my kids, it's just unbelievable joy because they're my kids. They are my kids. I don't care. They're nobody else's kids. They are
That's right.
mine. And I'm so in love with my family, so in love with my kids. And I'm excited to see what God has for them. And I just want to prepare them for this world, but also prepare them to be positive influences, not so much, hey, let me just see what's happening in the world. I want them to be a positive light in this world.
Wow. See, Chris, there was a reason why I asked you to be on the show today.
Oh man.
All right.
Well,
I knew you
being a
would
dad's
bring,
my
I knew,
topic, man. I love that.
well, the thing about it is that we're going to have different perspectives of
Yes, sir.
fatherhood today, and that's what it's all about. Everybody's going to bring in different levels, and next week, we're going to have some people on talking about, their perspectives. But I knew you would have an interesting one, and it's pretty solid, very good. Thank you for letting me know that your family did fight, because I think most families
Oh,
actually do. But
we even have it on old home videos. I have to show you sometime.
oh yeah, but I also think the importance of staying together. You made a very valid point
Yeah,
about staying together. Too many people don't stay together, and I might get into that in some of my other conversations
sure.
and all that. I've had my trials and tribulations in staying together, and all for the. I mean, you stay together because you're trying to fix it with each other, but those
Yeah,
kids, man, those kids. But that's another conversation
I
I'm going to have
totally
probably
agree.
with the guys. And all, but Chris Clarkfeld out of Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Thanks so much for being on today, brother. I appreciate
Hey,
it.
thanks for having me, Johnny.
All right, you too. Take care,
Yes,
man.
sir.
Take care.
Bye.
All right, bye-bye. All right, ladies and gentlemen, just speaking there with Mr. Chris Cloudfelter. He's out of Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Really great perspectives there. There's my daughter there popped up in the screen. She's going to be coming up a little bit later in the 2:30 hour, along with my son as well. But right now, we're going to keep it moving, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to bring up the one and the only Mr. Kelvin Bass. He's out of Durham, North
Hey,
Carolina. How you doing, sir?
it's like good, sir. Wilmington, North Carolina, as well.
Oh, okay,
Durham,
okay.
born, raised
Are
in
you born
Wilmington
and raised
now,
in
but
Wilmington?
Durham. No, sir. I was born and raised in Durham, North
In
Carolina,
Durham, okay.
and I live.
Yeah.
Yeah, I reside in Wilmington now. How you doing,
Yeah,
Superfoot? What's up, champ?
I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine. Can you bring maybe the camera a little bit closer to you because it's kind of
Yes,
fading out
sir.
just a little bit?
That good?
There you go.
All
Yeah,
right.
a little bit better there now. I can see your face, so it won't kind of like keep adjusting in and out, okay? And everything.
Mm-hmm.
Is that good? Okay, good, good. Well, listen, I'm glad you're on the day for the Father's Day special. All right. What does that say on your hat?
That's that
Hammer.
Hammer Kickboxing.
That's the name of your club, Hammer
Yeah,
Kickboxing. There.
Hammer Kickboxing, Fort Lauderdale.
It's out of Wilmington.
Yes, sir. JBM, over there at JBM, but Hammer Kickboxing came out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and I bought it here when I moved here, 10 years ago. So,
Wow, you've been teaching
representing Hammer.
10 years?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Yep, been teaching up here 10 years now in Wilmington. And
so, give us a little bit about your background in the martial arts, really quick.
Well, sir, like I said, I started off in karate, American freestyle, under Master Freddie McNeil in Durham, North Carolina, and then received my first degree in '91. And I just been in martial arts and different arts all my life. I've been in the game 30-some years, since 1987. So I'm still kicking like you, sir.
Okay, well that's I got
and do the kickboxing.
That's a good thing. I appreciate you always bringing your fighters and everything out to the fights and all of.
Yes, sir. Froze up there.
And seemed like the Wi-Fi there. I'm not really sure what's going on. It's a little bit of a stutter there.
There's a storm. There's a storm up here.
There's a storm over there right now.
Yes,
okay.
A storm.
Yeah. It's making a little bit more. As I kind of went with Chris Claudfelter, I'm going to kind of start with you to give me a little bit of history about your life and how you were grown, how you grew up. Tell me a little bit about your father.
Well, growing up in Durham, I grew up with my mother and grandmother. So I was raised by my mother and grandmother. Oh. So I was a grandma's boy, always a grandma's boy. My mom was there and stuff, and then my uncle, but I pretty much was a grandma's boy. I was always up under my grandma. She spoiled me. I'm the only grandson, and I got spoiled. I had a good life growing up in Durham, minimum wage with my grandmother, my mom. So I had a good life and everything. Times was tough, being the only child. I was spoiled. I wanted my way, of course, and I got it, and that made me realize a lot of things. Not having a father in my life, brought a lot of tension and anger and stuff.
Hold on one second, Kevin. I want to dive into that just a little bit. So you didn't have your dad? Was he like nowhere around? Did you not know who?
Nowhere. He didn't claim me. None of that. But it's okay, But as you say, this is about the fathers and our kids. So
no. It's about fathers.
Fathers, yeah, the fathers and the kids.
Before we get to your kids, I need to find out a little bit more about your feelings about your father. That's important.
That's important. Okay. As a kid, it was hard. My dad stayed across the street from me. And he didn't claim me. You know what I'm saying? That will bother any kid when and he doesn't claim you. You know what I'm saying? But the feelings as a kid, not having a father, was tough. But as a man now and having kids and love my kids, and I think you see that when I post on my posts about my kids and my oldest two, they old. I love them. I'm always be in my kids' life. I think everybody know Kelvin Bass about my kids. I love my kids, but that made me strong, Johnny, as a father now, taking care of my kids and my son, especially my youngest.
But what was it about when you? Because listen, I have the same story, okay, but we'll get into that later. But so what was it about not having the father when you had those other loved ones in your life? What was it that you think you actually missed about that relationship? Yeah,
not having a father in my life. The discipline, a dad, like I'm about to get in your ass, boy. Can I say that?
Right.
Can I say, you know what I'm saying? I missed that. I wanted that more. I had the love. I had everything I wanted as a kid. I had the love. I was, cool. You had but that love as a father that most kids need today, and why kids so messed up without a good father and doing the things in life, you
Right.
know. So
Okay.
that's why.
Right. Kevin, did you act
So
out? Were you getting in trouble or something that you felt like you
no,
needed
I
to
won't
have
never.
your hand?
No, I was never a trouble kid.
Okay.
I just didn't take no crap like I don't take crap now.
Right.
I'm just older than focused more than I was kick. I didn't have that guidance, but through martial arts and Master McNeil and martial arts helped me out in my life. It was my structure, as Chris was saying, you know, through kickboxing and with martial artists. That's a foundation that helped me.
Right.
I can remember that. I can remember, you know, just doing that, but that helped me through leadership discipline through martial arts. That really helped me, John, into who I am a man today.
Right.
Not
Right.
having that father, I had a lot of another father figure. His name was Sergeant Lister, Oscar Lister. He was my ROTC instructor.
Mm.
And he was another. So those being right there in my life was my father figure as far as keep me on check with my discipline or my ways or becoming a man, my leadership, my excellence, all of that. So those two men right there were my father figures, even if they wasn't my father.
Right. Yeah. No, I certainly understand that. Do you try to be the best example you can be today for your kids? And
That's
why is that
I set the example for them because they know who daddy is. They know what I've gone through. I told them they know my story. They know I'm a hard worker, a professional fighter as well, a champion, you know, dedicated to everything I do in my life. You know, I'm human too. I make mistakes, but I do recognize and fix those so my kids can understand. Like, okay, my dad is not perfect, but he perfect and done. You know, he's dad. You know,
right?
so I work hard to keep focused for my kids. You know, to this day, because without my kids, I don't know where I'd be at, Johnny.
Right. Right. Right.
That was
Why, why, why,
that's my back.
why do you say that, Kelvin?
Because like Chris said, your kids is everything. And it's like your heart when you see them, when you wake up, when they cranky, it's just like not having that father figure for me. When I see my kids, 3 kids, it just or talk to them, just makes my whole life just like, yes, my kids are happy. My daughter is in college. My oldest son is doing good. I got Bam Bam, my youngest son, a champion. In your division. You
Yeah.
know, I'm trying to raise them to be okay. My dad did his job. You know, I've been there for him. I didn't you never see me say, okay, walk away from my kids or anything. I'm there for them through thick and thin. You know,
Right.
and without having that father figure, that's what made me like I love my kids.
Right. Obviously, I read a lot of the posts and things like that you put on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people share a lot of things on Facebook, and that I don't know if they realize Johnny Davis is trolling them and
Yeah.
going to maybe ask you that question on his show one day.
Mm-hmm.
But where's the mother in his life?
Um, I won 50-50 custody of my youngest son.
So
You
you've gone
know,
through a divorce situation.
I'm divorced from the situation when we met the fight last time. You know, I told you the story, whatever. You know, I love my family. And I'm gonna say it again on live on Facebook. I
Right.
love my family. I love my wife.
Right.
But you know, situations happen that I had no control of because families and people and stuff. But when I put things on Facebook, you know, and say things, I say it because how I feel. It doesn't mean you're attacking anybody, but I'm gonna speak my mind.
Right.
You know, social media, like you
Yeah.
said, we keep it real, Johnny.
Yeah. Yeah.
Keep it real.
Yeah. You know that.
I think you know that too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
you
No
know,
doubt about it. So,
but
so one of the
we
things I
have
want to
custody.
one of the
We
things I
have
want to
custody.
talk about in fatherhood is about relationships, and I keep it real, as you said, real talk, real solution. Johnny Davis Live, right? So,
Right.
so when they talk about people staying together and trying to work it out between themselves, we have the eyes of the kids who are also looking at that. How do you
Yeah.
think maybe the departure affected the kid in particular, or the kids?
It affected them in a lot of ways. I noticed that when I was going through that, I like to talk about it. You know, I was once told that you create your own drama. And I believe that now because over the stuff I went through. So communication and talking. You
Mm.
know, we're both adults and we have to make sure it's about our son. Nothing else matters. We're not, you're not with that spouse. You're not with that person. if you can't work it out and keep those vows and do what you're supposed to do, that's
Right.
one thing. But it's about these kids,
Right.
and when they hurt, we hurt,
Right.
and that needs to stop. As in the judicial system and stuff, and the courts and stuff, they need to make sure the kids are happy, not because what they want, or what she
Right.
wants. We want about what our kids, and what we have to talk and be happy for our kids, Johnny. And that's the realest right there. Because without our kids, then what do we have? Our kids
Right.
be sad and no discipline, no structure, all that good stuff, and
Are you
that's
the
what we
kind of
want.
father? Are you the kind of father that you wanted to be? Because maybe because your dad wasn't in your life. I know you kind of alluded to it. You really go in now to try to be even extra, right? But
Extra, exactly, exactly.
are you that kind of father that that if you had to make a trophy out of and have a name on it, it would say Kevin Bass, right? Are you that dad now? Are you doing all of those things that you feel like that makes you the best type of dad that you can be?
Um, I can change a few things as being a dad, and I work. I'm doing still work on a lot of things, but I have enough trophies in my time, John. I don't want no more trophies. I let Bam Bam get all the trophies. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
So
right.
I like I said, my part as a father on this earth is to take care of my kids, do what's right in God's eyes, because we're all gonna get judged, Johnny.
Mm-hmm.
And I, I'm not a preacher or anything, but I work on me, and when I work on me, I work on my kids, and try to help the world through martial arts, and
You
that's what
said
I'm
you
doing.
right. You mentioned about your son Bam Bam, and I
Yeah,
see you applaud him a lot. He's your youngest, right?
yeah, yes,
Tell,
sir. He's my youngest.
tell me a little bit more about this kid and your relationship.
Our relationship is good because he's the youngest, and he's so athletic. He wants to be the best. He said, "Dad, I want to make money like Floyd Mayweather." I said, "Well, you better go." I said, "You better go to work and work hard."
Right.
He worked hard. If
Yeah.
some a kid at 8 years old say he wants more money than Floyd Mayweather, then that tells me a lot. That means he's working hard, which I showed that twice. If he keeps going hard as my guidance as a father and a man, a black man, Johnny.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of men ain't in their kids' lives, and I hope they see this show or understand that be in your kids' lives, man. No matter if the parents can't work it out, still be on as their father and be there.
Well,
They need us.
that's interesting that you bring up that you just brought up the fact. I don't know if I knew that you were African American or that you were black, right? But since you bring that up, we have the Black Lives Matter movement going on now. All the some killings that have been going on. How do you feel about that when you think about your son? Do you have a fear of that happening to you and or your son?
I've had that happen to me a lot, here lately, going through things before, and, you know, I'm angry about it, and I've told my son, since he is mixed, black, white, but I
Mm.
consider him African American. I let him know that. I
Yeah.
say, your nationality is black because your dad
Well,
is
that's the
black.
way they're gonna see you.
Yeah, that's going to wear, as him too, because he's mixed, but I let him know his race is black, and
So
he's,
hold on one second, Kevin. So if you're saying, because my son is in the same situation, right? We'll be on a little bit later.
mhm.
And so when we talk about that, and I've heard people say that a lot, that if they are mixed, then you just say that they're black. Are we buying into that one drop concept in history that
Well,
they
here's,
have? Because
I thought,
wouldn't that be mixed?
they say it's mixed, but as I thought in reading and what I was told, they go by the father. So I'm
Hmm.
going by what I was read
Right,
and told. So,
right.
but I let him know and stuff how hard life is. He understands. He sees the world, what's going on.
Right.
I educate my son. You
Yes.
stand your ground. You don't let anybody bully you or bother you. Or my daughter too. I have a 20-year-old daughter. In college and stuff, and I let her know the same. All my kids have learned martial arts through the discipline, the respect, and everything, and it helped them. So I'm there to be that structured dad, father, whatever I could do for my kids, and being a good dad. So I got to set the example for my kids, and I've done pretty good in my life, you know, and my kids know that.
Right.
You know, society knows, you know, community knows, you know, and that's what it's all about,
Right.
you know.
Right. Well, I think that's a real important points there, you know, that you're making, and I always try to, you know, try to dive in just a little bit more when it comes to how we are seen in society and how people will treat us in this society, and ultimately we need to try to be the very best examples that we can be.
Yep.
When you think about your son there
Mm-hmm.
and his
Mm-hmm.
martial arts career, are you trying to make him be something maybe that you didn't quite accomplish? Are you trying to make him better? Are you living through
The
your
only thing,
son now? What are you
hey,
doing, man?
hey, the
You're a
only thing,
little fighter.
hey,
I'm gonna tell you
I'm
that.
gonna tell you this: the only thing I didn't accomplish my first kickboxing thing or martial arts, I didn't get 2 belts. This boy got 2 belts in his career at 8 years old, 7 to 8 years old. That's the only thing. But he got a long way to go to catch up with daddy. I told him that.
Right.
But I want my son to be the best kid and becoming a man, and my children to become successful and smart and educated. You know, and they are. You know, all 3 of my kids are smart. My 2 graduated from high school and college, and now I'm working on Bam Bam. But he's he wants to. I told him to be whatever he wants to be. I
Right.
support him, but he wants to play baseball. That's where the real money is.
Mhm. Right. Right.
Yeah, you won't be like us, Mr. Davis. Can't remember everything. The fight
Right.
so long, you know.
Right, right. Well, and I think what it is that unfortunately the sport doesn't pay what it needs to pay.
Oh, they need to come up off that, Johnny. They need to take care of fighters because these boys put in work and
Yeah,
body. Don't nobody understand the hard work we put in as fighters and stuff, and martial arts and long hours and training and being away from family and stuff like that. That's hard. They need to pay fighters and stuff, you
right.
know. So what I tell him,
As we wind down here on our final minute here, I want you, if you could speak to dads going back to your feelings when you did not have your dad in your life as a kid. If you can speak to dads right now who are being deadbeats, who are not in their kids' lives, what would be your advice to them?
well, my advice is this: don't walk out your kids' lives, guys. Be that be there for them because they need you. Especially right now with the world going on and all this hatred and crime and race stuff and this and that. Teach them, teach them the right way. Be there for them. Don't walk out on them. You
Hmm.
know, communicate with them. Communication is the key with your kids.
That's some solid advice, Kevin. Hey, look, man, I appreciate you coming on today. You know, I have another
Yes,
guest
sir.
waiting there in the lobby, and I've been wanting to talk with you a bit and everything and all. And
Yes, sir.
I really appreciate you opening up and telling us the real
Hey,
deal about
I'm glad. I'm
Kevin
glad.
Bass. All right, brother, we'll talk to you soon. Okay.
I really us.
Absolutely. Got a little break there in the Wi-Fi. We'll talk to you soon. All right,
All
ladies and
right.
gentlemen, there you go. They're speaking with Mr. Kelvin Bass about his son there. Bam, he's actually a very good little fighter, up and coming fighter there. Looking forward to seeing him in some future events again as well. Again, we want to thank everybody for watching Johnny Davis Live here today. Thanks to our sponsors and the Eastern Assets Printing and at blackoutfights.com. Our next guest that we're bringing up there is going to be none other than Mr. Fernando Caleros. We're going to give him a little bit of time to come up and chat a little bit. Now, some of you guys have seen Fernando on the show before, right? And we've had him on where we've talked about like so many things, right? So now we're going to talk a little bit about kids and fatherhood and all of that. And I'm sure he has an interesting story for us. Mr. Fernando Caleros, how are you, sir?
Johnny Davis Live, man. How's it going, man? How's the Oprah Winfrey of kickboxing and Muay Thai? Doing, man? Hey, I watched your show, the last 2 guests. You're breaking up a little bit, Mr. Davis.
Make sure you kind of pause out there, maybe.
Okay.
Did I lose you?
You lost me for a split second.
You can't be getting phone calls, Fernando.
No, I wasn't. Hey, I've been watching your entire show, and the last 2 guests were it was pretty informative. I just want to say that, Johnny, I really appreciate. I mean, I mean it, man, sincerely. I really like your show. I like the real talk part about it, and You know, the one thing with me is I felt like maybe even the last two guests held back just a little bit. I'm not going to hold back. I mean, hey, things aren't flashy, fancy, and if they are, well, then give me the recipe, and I'll try.
Right.
But you know, the fact about this is, we're talking about fathers, fatherhood, children, and I have some mixed feelings about this entire thing, and I don't want to end this segment of this part of the show negatively, but you know, there's going to be.
Hey, Fernando, we are going to keep it real. We're going to keep it real. That's the bottom line. And the thing about it is that you know, when I ask someone a question, I just want the truth, the best that they know it, and I'm going to dig into you, right? You know, and go from there. You've been on my show several times. We've had some really passionate conversations and emotional conversations, and you know, it is what it is. But let's dive a little bit about fatherhood. Tell me, and by the way, Fernando's a 4-time world champion kickboxer, so he's been around the world. He served a little time as well. You know, he's open about that, tells you about that. Drug things, he's talked about that, all of those things right now. But we also want to talk about maybe how all of that has affected his abilities to maybe be everything he wanted to be or needed to be as a father, right? So we're just going to have real talk here about, you know, what's going on. So tell me a little bit, first of all, about your kids. And about you know, who are you the father of?
Okay, I'm gonna make a lot of people upset probably. This is my fact. When I'm saying these things, I really don't care what people think and what their beliefs are. This is my belief, and everyone's entitled to their own belief. I'm a father to 2 girls, and I am a dad to 5 kids. Now, some people out there's always going to be the counter effect, right? But let me tell you, this is my fact. And they're going to say, oh, that's just semantics. It's not to me. There's a difference between a father and a dad. Now, I'm a father to 2 children that were my own. You know, I was a donor, and I did my best to be in their life until I got myself in trouble, and there's no one to blame but myself. But I'm basically just a father to 2 girls. Now, I'm a dad to 5 of Rachel's children. And what I mean by that is I get up every single day, every single damn day. And what I try to do is make sure that they have a roof over their head, they got food on the table, they're learning traditional values like honesty, courtesy, respect, and trying to raise them where they won't end up doing the things that I did. And I got to say something else, Johnny, I'm sorry, but I just have to. Listen, man. My dad got the shit out of the stick, man. You know why? Because he did not have to have, why did their sons grow up this way? Why did Fernando have to grow up this way? How was his father? That's bullshit. Let me tell you something. There's families, it doesn't matter how good you think you're raising your family, the kids are going to turn out the way they're going to turn out. Now, statistically, if statistics are right, well, then of course, you know, if you're in a better, stable household, and you have a better chance of coming out. But my dad, man, was a hell of a man. He is a hell of a man. He works ever since I was at full time, clean the house. He's the one I do the dishes, and think about him. You know why? Because right. I do the dishes, man. I nag at people for moving my coffee cup just like him. But you know what? He was a good father and dad. So to answer your question,
well, what is the difference, Fernando?
Well, I think the father is pretty much a donor. You're pretty much a sperm donor, and you help co-create with whatever the female, whatever understanding of your higher being is, and you brought a human being to the world, right? And a dad, I believe, is just someone who takes the real role. The dad is the one who puts food on the table. The dad's the one to pick their knee up when it's cut and put medicine on it. To talk to them about honesty, courtesy, respect. That's what I believe. Now I know that's just semantics, but not to me. To me, that I have the 2 definitions as different.
No, but I think they are different. I think that a father is, as you said, maybe the person genetically, you know, and then the dad is kind of like a more of a term of endearment, right? And all, and so that, but in order to get that endearment, you have to be there. You know, you have to nurture. You have to love. You have to show the compassion. You have to teach your kids and all of that. That's just my opinion. So yes, I do think that there is a difference. But I want to dive in a little bit more because there's something came out in what you said early on about you were a father to some and a dad to others. So the father was, you said, of your first child, I believe,
Yes.
right? That you even used the word that you were more like a donor, right? So you have not been in that child's life.
I haven't seen my daughter Angelica since August 28th of 2005.
2005?
2005. She's 27 years old. She lives in the same hometown as me, doesn't want anything to do with me. And,
But why would you think that is, Fernando?
Well, and in the field that I'm in, I know that building stories in the mind is, a lot of the times they're not true. But
yeah,
to answer your question kind of indirectly, I got to say that, some people might be like, whoa, well, if his daughter doesn't want to be in his life and has been avoiding him this long, he must have done something bad.
Right.
And, or what did he do? And I did do something bad. I was an absentee father.
Well, yeah.
I went to prison in 2000.
But being an absentee father, was that all on you? Was this woman not in your life? Well, you guys, in other words, I'm going to talk about this on my show next, right?
Yeah.
As well about me, right? But were you guys not dating, girlfriend, boyfriend, or whatever?
I was with my wife, Julie, for 10 years. She was my high school sweetheart. We actually got pregnant before we got married. We were young, about 18 years old, and we had Angelica. And we were together, living together, and being a family until I put myself in prison for bank.
Oh, okay.
And when I got out of prison, we still maintained a good relationship. Not really together, but co-parenting and so forth until 12 years old. My daughter was 12 years old when she called me on the phone.
Right.
And I answered, and she said, "Hey, Dad." And I said, "Yeah." She said, "I just want to let you know that I don't ever want to talk to you again." And I said, "Why? What happened?" She goes, "I don't like you. I think that you're a mean, ugly person, and I don't want nothing to do with you for the rest of my life. And I'm telling Grandma the same." And she called my mom, and we haven't heard a peep since.
So do you think that was the mom that maybe conditioned her for that?
Well, I don't want to get too much into it, but no, I don't think it was. Well, yes and no. I got to tell. Let me just say before people build stories in their head too, not just me, everyone else. And I got to say this, just so we could have a clear understanding. Not really you, Mr. Johnny Davis, but anybody out there who might be like this or that. Let me tell you something. My fiance Rachel, she is gracious enough to allow my ex-mother-in-law and my ex-brother-in-law, we reconnected the past year or so, to come over to the house. We go eat dinner with them and so forth. They're in my life, and my daughter doesn't talk to them either, and it's been many, many years.
Okay.
And
so maybe this is just more of your daughter.
Yeah, it wasn't like, just get this straight, everybody out there, because I've been to prison and because of, it's just something I'm like, there was no molestation. There was no beatings. There's no inappropriate touching. It just basically, she said, "Get the hell out of my life." Talking to the grandma and the uncle and her grandfather, and we're just like, wow, you haven't seen them in 10 years. You haven't seen her in 10 years. I haven't seen her in almost, it's crazy.
Right. So it might be more just about her, but you said something interesting and also about your dad. Your dad, you said he was a great guy, right? He worked hard.
Yeah, he's great. Now, did he piss me off? Of course. Man.
But he worked hard, right, and all that. So now this is what I find in this. I'm kind of like a little bit of a therapist, right? But you said that he was that it might not have anything to do with how a person comes out, because person makes decisions. You said something like that early on the show. And that your dad was a good guy and he worked hard and he tried to do the right thing and tried to give he and the mom tried to do good things for you. You made certain decisions that got you in trouble, correct? But what I also heard you say is all of the energy that you now put into this family that you have, right? And could that not also be from your dad?
No, it is. There's some other things as well, but yeah, I mean, the discipline to get up early and to just get things done. You have to work. You have to maintain gotta maintain the yard. I do some things that are different, but with the same discipline and motivation that my dad had. Now I talk to I call them my kids. We talk about changing emotions. We talk about gratitude. We do things that I didn't grow up with and that I didn't, I just pretty much just came in here, and between Rachel and I, we created a system that we didn't read about it. We just said, hey, I know this, let's talk to the kids about it every night and see what we can do. And it works for us. But my dad, this is what I got. It was something you said to Chris, which I really liked. I was jumping up and down on my chair.
Okay.
What did your dad show by action? That's what you told Chris. And I first guessed. And my dad by action, he worked. Sometimes he worked 2 jobs. He always maintained the yard. Like I said, for some reason, he had a fascination with just being in charge of the dishes in the kitchen and at least cleaning. And that's what I do now as well.
Me too.
So, those things did rub off on me. And for many years, I would have denied it before. And now it's like, nah, man, my dad was a good worker. Oh, did he drink his beer and stuff? Yeah, but was he a drunk? No. Did he hit my mom? No. Did they take us to Disneyland and parks and this? Yes. So.
Well, yeah, but that's an interesting part right there too when you talk about how he treated the mom and all of this. I'm gonna come full circle to this, right? You saw how he treated the mom. What relationship was that? How was that relationship?
Good. I never witnessed my dad hit my mom one time. I never witnessed, just like I told you when we did our first interview a couple of years ago. I said, there was no reason for me to, get into addiction, drinking, and so forth. Then I found that, hey, I was molested and all these things probably. Yeah. But anyways, so Johnny, I didn't grow up in a household where my mom was getting her butt whipped and my dad was drinking a bottle and hitting me with a switch and having other women. I never experienced any of that, man.
Wow.
Yeah. So
did that make you today when you think about your relationship with Rachel, right? Does that make you treat her a certain kind of way?
Well, I don't know if it made me. I'm sure it had something to do with it. There was a lot of other things like, me going through all the stuff I went through. But, man, I just can't imagine hitting Rachel.
Right.
Or hitting the kids. We don't believe in physical discipline. So, I just can't. Or it just the discipline's very light, I guess, but it works for us, But yeah, I think that my dad rubbed off on me in other ways. He's always telling my mom little things like, I don't want to put him out there that way, but little in Spanish called cariño. So, little loving things they say that sometimes pisses my mom off.
You can say it here. I don't know what it means. I don't know what it means either.
Well, I'm chasing Rachel around the house, and hey, come here, whatever that is,
Well, you also mentioned about the discipline part. That was another part I was thinking about fatherhood. Is that you said you discipline rather light. What does that mean?
Well, I did get spanked, my brothers and I, up until I think the last time was 12. Mm-hmm. We did get spanked with the belt. Now I didn't see it as abuse at the time, and I'm not saying that.
I didn't see it as abuse either, but I got my butt tore up. Anyway, go ahead.
And I was such a bad kid in school too, on an off note, and I remember getting paddled by the principal. Back then they had paddles, man. You guys don't know about that.
I don't know about that. Hey, my principal had a couple of holes in her paddle.
Yeah.
It really sunk into my behind.
Yeah, they used to pull your pants down to your skivvies and then whoosh. But anyways, no. But I did get spanked, and it stopped somewhere at 12 years old. I'm not really sure why it stopped. I'm not sure. I can't. I don't know. But we did get hit with the belt and stuff, and I just don't believe in physical disciplining. I just can't. Look, and that goes along besides fatherhood with my beliefs now and what I believe in. I watch, and a lot of people aren't going to understand or even like what I'm saying, but I don't believe a man or a woman comes from a woman. I think that they come through a woman into this earth. Yes, it's true. The woman's beautiful and special, and God bless them. And they come through, and that body is an individual, and depending on what state you live in or country, we're obligated to them to a certain age. But after that, they're their own individual, man. We're not obligated to each other after that. We're bringing manifestations of flesh into this world, and we're our own person. But anyway, sorry, I go off on.
No, that's fine. You just think the dad has a little bit more, or should have a little bit more of a role in the child's life. It seems like sometimes the mother gets all the credit.
You know what, man? Sometimes the mom does get all the credit, and you know what? And I can't even say rightfully so. I can't, because in my household, and then knowing some dads, there's some dads out there that put in the work, man, and that have a lot to do with this. So now, I got to say this also is always going to make me sound like I'm a hypocrite, but
no,
Rachel, especially knowing her when we were courting before I moved back to Albuquerque with her. I was in El Paso. She should get all the credit. This woman is amazing. Maintains them in a nice home, clothes, food, extras. I mean, so disciplining in her own way, and there's a lot of mothers out there like that too. But actually, I don't want to say a lot, but there's some mothers like Rachel. But yeah. But I believe a lot of the men that should get credit, that are truly good dads and fathers, I think they get the short end of the stick, man. They're like, that's just dad. We love mom,
Yeah, I know, right? I know. That's for sure. Sometimes we just sit back and let that happen. You mentioned something about, you've kind of been ranting on Facebook a little bit about child support.
Man, let me tell you. And before I talk about child support, I want to say I have no political affiliation. Rachel does. I won't say what you.
Okay, that's fine.
But she's thinking is dipping out of that one too. But I'm not Republican, Independent, Democrat. I think there's a little bit of this and that.
Well, I don't know what it has to do with child support right now, but go ahead.
Well, it does, because there's a lot of beliefs on the side. But let me tell you about that system that ain't worth anything. It's garbage. Let me tell you guys, Mr. Davis, child support, right? If you owe child support, the child support laws are so good, and they put all the emphasis, or a lot of emphasis, on punishment if you don't make payments. And they put this much, Mr. Davis, this much to getting the fathers involved with the children.
Right.
I'm dealing with it firsthand. You know what they told me? This they told me. Oh, well, you have a right to see your daughter. You're paying child support. Okay, all right. She don't want to see me, or she does want to see me. Guess what I get to do? This is their help. I go to the house, knock on the door. Hey, I'm here exercising the right to see my child. So she's due to me from this day to that day. Well, I'm not going to let her go. Okay. What can I do? They want you to call the cops, make a report, do those as many times as you can, present it to the court. What kind of help is that? Right. But you know what? They'll dock your pay. They'll garnish your wages. They'll put a bank levy. They'll, put a warrant out for your arrest. They'll take your license away. They'll take your stimulus checks away. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So they're just focused on.
And you feel that this is unfair, but in honest. Okay, in earnest, I guess that's the right word, is that your child support would have been paid if you would not have gone and done some time, correct?
Yeah, I went.
She's 27, you said now, right?
Oh, the 27-year-old, I never had that issue.
Okay, this is your 15-year-old, 14-year-old?
14-year-old, yes.
Okay.
And I'm trying to, I don't want to tiptoe, and I don't want to go too crazy, but I'm going to say that it is a difficult situation when a father truly wants to be a part of their children's life or child's life. And you're paying, I know, and let me backtrack, and you're paying your child support. Yeah, you may be behind, but you changed your life and you're paying your child support. You're doing what you got to do. And they just make it damn right difficult. Give you conditions. You can see if this happens. You can be around if this happens. You have to do this. And it's like, wait a second, I got to follow these child support laws and the laws of whatever this person's name is, or people. They come up with their own laws. And then, of course, they have the, as you know, Mr. Davis, they got their supporters. Everybody has their supporters. Oh, I'm going to be on Fernando's side because he's my son. So let's support him. Yay, well, I'm going to be on this person's side. And then they feed the ego. The ego goes, oh, yeah, I'm right and he's wrong. Bullshit. I'm not right and she's not right or anybody else not right. The bottom line is, if you're paying your child support and you got behind because your idiot self like me put himself in prison, but you're trying to change your life around, you're doing everything you can, and you're still getting demands and conditions put on you by the states and by the custodial parent, that is garbage. Straight garbage. I'm like, Mr. Davis, I love both my daughters, but my youngest in particular, I love her very much. She stayed with me for 10 days. Awesome reconnecting. I want to be in her life. I want to. You have to pay child support. You have to. You're a man, but let me tell you something. Women too. There's 500,000, 500,000 women that pay child support in the United States. So you got to pay your child support. However, each case is unique, and what the child support laws do is they put, if it's bad all across the board. There's no distinction. Oh, this is this way. It's just all bad, and there's no distinction really on punishment, and it's just frustrating to me. And
you and your daughter have a great relationship, correct? Is it a pretty good relationship with your 14-year-old?
Well, great. I like how you said on the first. Great magnitude. I get it. Great magnitude. This is how much I've seen my daughter. I put myself in prison for bank fraud for some crimes I did in 2009. I saw her 5 times when I got out, when there was a child support argument with the custodial parent. And then I saw her for 10 days recently. And
you guys like you had a great time.
We had a great time. I love her. She's a beautiful, intelligent, smart, athletic girl. And she has resentment towards me. I feel it. I sense it. I see it. And it's not her fault. And I'm not blaming even her mom. However, things could be easier. If all parties were just in agreement to just be better human beings, this could be a lot easier. Maybe if I was some kind of woman beater or child beater or didn't want to pay my child support. But it's just, so to answer your question, no, we don't have a great relationship, but we had a very good reconnection 10-day period together here in Albuquerque.
So there's hope.
Oh yeah, there's always hope. But at the same time, I'm a counselor, Mr. Davis. She's 14 years old. So
what does that mean? What does that mean?
Well, she's 14 years old. I haven't been in her life in many years.
She looks like you.
Yeah,
she looks just like you.
She looks just like me, and she says that she doesn't look like me at all. I mean, she's a 14-year-old, man. She's a 14-year-old, and but she's a wonderful teenager, and just for those of you out there, just imagine you haven't seen this man you hear as your dad for 10 years. You get thrown to a different state. Here, you guys, you have to stay with your dad when she didn't want to, for as long as she wanted to, and she stayed 10 days. So, that's a position she was put in, and I understand. It was probably uncomfortable at first, but ultimately, I think it turned out well.
Right.
I think
that's a good thing, and I wish you guys success in that relationship, because she will find that having a father in her life is really important. It's going to help her, will help her right now navigate some of the things that she's going to be dealing with, because she's going to be getting into the boys and all of that. And I certainly have my story on my next show about. I'll be talking about my daughter. That we have so look. I'm a piece of all of these stories that we're talking about today. There's certainly no doubt about that. But you did say something earlier about that kind of caught my attention about, and you got very emotional about your family there that you were dealing with Rachel's kids. And I would like to hear a little bit more about how you met Rachel and how, these kids are kind of seeing you as a father figure in their lives.
Well, Rachel and I have known each other since high school, since 1992. Yeah, we're getting up there, man. And then we reconnected like in 1995. And then after I got out of prison a few years ago, I saw her on Facebook. And so the whole friend request thing. And then just, that's how we reconnected. And then ultimately, I said, you want to come down to visit El Paso? Right now, and that's what happened. And then we haven't looked back since. Now the kids, I can't do this because I don't have her permission, and I wouldn't want to do that. But there is a reason why the father is not here. Not a good reason. I'm talking about at all. Mine is me going to prison is minimal compared to this. So it's one of those situations where at first they were, a little tentative, and now it's turned into a good thing. They don't call me dad. They don't call me father, sir. They just call me Fernie, man. That's short for Fernando. Or something.
Really? Okay, right.
And and I told them when Rachel and I get married, you guys are more than welcome to call me dad or keep calling me Fernando. I'm not going to push that on them, but no, we get along really good, man. Now they walk around and they're like, oh, there comes Fernando with his philosophy again. And, my daughter, when she was here, I tried talking to her. I told her about the 4 agreements, keep your word impeccable and never assume anything, all those other good things. And she's 14. She looks at me like I'm crazy, but I try to do these things now, and I'm doing with these kids. And the little formula, and Rachel is a teacher as well. She's a 5th grade teacher, and she is not a counselor or a therapist, but I'm not really sure how she got as good as she got, but she's even known at her school for just being an excellent teacher. So with her teaching skills and my counseling and all the things I've gone through to overcome, we're able to have this thing that there's no name for it, this little program we have here at the house that it just seems to really work, man. There's no kids beating up each other, no screaming and yelling. There's laughter and a lot of good stuff, man.
I wanted to make sure I put a picture up of your oldest daughter there.
Hey!
Too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I know. Beautiful kids, man, and everything. And I know it hurts your heart, and I can tell that it bothers you. A lot of people don't think that it bothers men. But it does, to be away from your kids and everything. But I think, you know what, man, for what you've been through and the situation that you've had to deal with, I think you've done a good job, and I think you're going to continue to do a good job. And I think you've been honest in your comments.
Mr. Davis, and everybody listening out there, I'm not sitting here saying, oh, I'm a good person now. I've changed my life. You know what? By action, have made some major, I'm not talking about little, major life changes. And for those of you who think I'm a deadbeat dad or think that, oh, you went to prison, you should have gone to prison, so there you go, pay your shit. Well, then God bless you. I don't agree with you. I'm one of the ones that I'm trying my best. I'm doing my damn best, man. Right. I'm doing my best in this world, and I'm doing my best to try to share and try to give. And it sucks, and I know that it's true, but there's just still negativity out there, and it's like, man.
Well, I tell you, Monique Greco over there somewhere is actually saying, yes, Fernie, you are a great dad all around.
Well, that's my cousin, so she's
right. But it doesn't matter. But at least she's acknowledging, somebody's recognizing the fact of your efforts, and I think that's important, don't you?
Yeah, Monique, she's my cousin. I love her very much. She's
gonna come on and say something opposite.
She's experienced, divorced parents and other stuff too in our family. And I'm just like, oh, I got to tell you guys, look, June 3rd, right, was my parents' 48th year anniversary, and they were together for 4 years before that. So they've been together 52 years, and let me tell you guys something. This has to do with children. A lot of my family, a lot of them, educated, professors, master's degrees, PhDs. they look down on my dad and mom.
Mm.
They're not necessarily educated, middle class, and maintained a family, but
They're wise.
they're the only ones that stayed married. They're the only ones that had a commitment. They're the only, and my dad didn't beat his wife, beat my mom, and and just lots of other things that. So one never knows. There is no book on this, and everyone has their own perspective. And for those groups that you're part of a group that believes this belief, good for you. And I'm part of a group that believes this belief. I got to say it over and over again. And there's going to be many other beliefs, and
right.
Many more who don't give a shit.
Right.
Mr. John Davis, I try to be as honest as possible when I talk to you. Thank you very much, man. I had to get this message out. I'm gonna get a lot of backlash. I always get backlash for some reason, man. There was like, last time.
Have them call me. Have them call me. No, because listen, if people like you don't come out and talk, right? How else are we gonna know, right? Everybody think it's all sugarcoat, everything is beautiful, la 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 la. It's not. This is a real world we live in, and there are real problems. And there are solutions for them, yes. But people, I love it when people come over here, and you've been one of my best guests for all the times you've been on. And we're going to continue our conversations in the future. But now I got to get ready for another show that's coming up. Well, my kids are going to come on and kind of talk a little bit about whatever kind of dad I've been. Listen, and it ain't all a bed of roses either, buddy. It's just, I know, because I've fallen short in some areas too, and I'm willing to put that on the table to be able to educate other people. But Fernando Caleros, he's out of New Mexico. He put it on the table for us today, and I certainly appreciate you being on today, brother.
Thank you, Johnny Davis, Johnny Davis Live. And again, thank you for allowing me to rant and be honest, Thank you.
You got it, brother. Tell everybody hello. Talk to you soon.
All right, talk soon. Bye, Johnny.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're speaking of Mr. Fernando Caleros. Fernando Caleros is a great guy, really sincere. You can go on my YouTube channel, Johnny Davis Live with 3 exclamation marks, and you can see all of the things that we've talked about in the past. And I tell you, some great storylines there. You really will be intrigued by them. I'm for sure on that. Look, I want everyone to make sure that you're practicing your social distancing, that you're wearing your mask and everything, and be sure to always respect each other. We want to thank our sponsors, Blackout Fight Gear. Better put that in there really quick, and Eastern Offset Printing. For March, this is Johnny Davis Live, and I'm checking out, and we'll see you again one more time today, guys, right here at the 2:30 hour. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.